Metropolitan Planning Council. We're an 85-year-old organization now based here in the Chicago area. We work on a range of regional development policy issues. We do a lot of work both in the Lake Michigan area, but also out here in the area of the region that uses groundwater, trying to get communities to work together to manage shared water resources that, they cross borders, whether it's in a river or groundwater or rain, and you really need collaborative solutions to those problems.
Dave, can you kind of give us an overview of the plant operations here that you're in charge of?
Sure. Yeah, Aurora is the second largest city in Illinois, behind, of course, Chicago. And so we have a 42 million gallon per day lime softening water treatment plant. We take river water from 3 different sources: surface water from the Fox River, groundwater from deep wells, groundwater from shallow wells, blend it together, treat it through our lime softening process. That's the tanks and vessels you see behind us. We disinfect the water after filtering and then pump it out to Aurora's residents.
Now, one of the topics we wanted to talk today, and the two of you work in conjunction with, is about water conservation. Through the years, everything has gotten to the point where water sources, whether the abundance or lack of, has affected a lot of communities and how they handle these issues. What are some of the challenges, Josh, that you see as water conservation and programs that need to be implemented?
Sure. So across the country, one of the main challenges for water conservation is that people like to do a lot of things that use a lot of water, right? And it's just become part of modern life. We use a lot of water. Conservation, the challenge is that people think that water is infinite and so they don't have to conserve. So there's different tensions in different places. The reality is, though, our plumbing fixtures, people's preferences on lawn watering, these things are changing over time as people learn more and as technology improves. So we are seeing water consumption on a per person and per household basis declining pretty much everywhere, but particularly around here.
So is that what you're finding holds true, Dave? Because obviously this is a growing community. This is what a lot of municipalities are dealing with, as communities were initially small and they start to grow and populate, that obviously water sources become an issue to meet the needs of the people.
Yeah, we certainly have seen per person usage decline since the 1994 federal plumbing regulations came into play. It's been a 29-year trend. I don't see it slowing down. Will eventually. Also, with the conservation ordinances that have been passed, like Aurora has, we've seen some of our peak demand days decrease also at a significant amount. That leads us to then better conserve our resources. Out here, deep well water is being used by many municipalities, and so that impacts the amount of water and the availability and ultimately the quality of the water there. So conservation is something that we do stress here in Aurora, and we do practice with some success.
Okay. And do you find that the public is open to these means for water conservation?
Sure. It's a culture change, as Josh mentioned, so it did take a couple years. We do have the ability to find people. Typically, we take an educational bend to it. But yeah, a lot of times neighbors report on other neighbors, but I think as a community as a whole has sort of embraced it. It's been in effect for 8 years now, and so it's just sort of standard practice, not only in Aurora, but also getting regionally in the Chicagoland area.
Now, Josh, you kind of work hand in hand with communities like this as far as water conservation. Are things introduced, more programs through education, or how do you get the word out there to get some of these things implemented?
You simply can't go to a hardware store or a plumbing fixture store these days and buy a water inefficient product, right? Everything, because of the standards Dave talked about, because of the US EPA's WaterSense labeling system, everything is more efficient than it used to be. So there, education isn't really necessary. There, you actually just need turnover and fixtures and things like that, and you get more efficiency.
Dave, are people trying to be more conscientious of what goes in to the rivers and the waters around here?
Well, I think so. I mean, in many communities you'll see a symbol for a fish that's right next to the stormwater inlet. Of course, stormwater reminds people that, hey, what I dump in this grate doesn't go to the wastewater treatment plant, it goes to the river, which of course then we use as raw water source for us. So I think that concept is coming around, the whole environmental concept of the water cycle, where the water that we use and drink today gets recycled, evaporated, it's rained. That whole concept I think is being reinforced in schools so people have a little better idea of that, but reinforcement toward conservation and protecting that cycle and that resource is important, not only for our community, but all communities, especially ones that have less of a resource than we do here in Aurora.
I think if you start to bring that back into people's homes, whether it's through water bills or Twitter or the occasional commercial on TV or programs like this, the less we'll have that out of sight, out of mind problem that we have. Because water systems, they're just never going to be like roads and bridges where you see them every day, you know when there's a pothole. We need to do more to get this into people's consciousness.